Alex, we're back.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
I'm good.
Yeah. Dude, fantastic start to the show. I know about you.
They have the highlights for last night's Edmonton Calgary game. It's just getting on my nerves.
Why?
I don't know. There's some things that they're not going to do anything about that really piss me off.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to talk about that later. Did you watch the game?
No, I saw the highlights this morning.
That's a shame. I watched it, stayed up for it, did not regret it. It was pretty fun, but yeah, Zach Kassian might have a suspension and a fine coming his way, but we'll talk about him a little later. But did you know he has 13 goals because you play with Connor McDavid? Anyway, Alex, you know how we start the show off?
The Power Hour.
It's the Power Hour. And first of all, Alex, outside of hockey news, there's been some stuff going on about who should be on the Canadian $5 bill, Alex. So I want to ask you, who do you think should be on it?
I've heard a lot of good candidates. My first thought was obviously Sheldon Keefe. No, I'm just joking. I think a pretty good one that I've seen a whole lot of was Terry Fox.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good candidate right there. What about you?
Yeah, no, when I saw someone brought up Terry Fox, I thought, I don't know if there is a bigger Canadian hero than Terry Fox. So
I can't think of one.
No, exactly. So I think it's pretty fair to say that, yeah, he's the man. He's definitely him. Or, Brendan Gallagher.
No, okay.
A hero, maybe Ilya Kovalchuk.
Okay.
But Alex, there's we got some good news going on, especially for the Arizona Coyotes, who they have Taylor Hall on their team, if you remember. Nick Hjalmarsson, who has unfortunately had just a spree of injuries since being traded to Coyotes from the Chicago Blackhawks, he's back tonight.
I think this is exactly what the team needed. I really do. Since they got Taylor Hall, it seems like they've been doing pretty well considering their goalie situation.
Yeah, Kemper being weak.
Kemper being week to week. Ranta, I believe, is injured as well. So they've pretty much just been playing their third and fourth string goalies. I think adding Hjalmarsson to this team is really what this team needed, and it really solidifies the back end.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, nothing could have gone. I think it could have. There's a lot of things that could have gone horribly wrong for this team, considering the situations with both their starting goalies being out. It's really good that they got this guy back.
Exactly. And yeah, the goalies like they currently have up are Ivan Prostevov and Dean Hill. So you've heard of those guys. Look at their cap-friendly page. I didn't know Mike Ribeiro was a Coyote who was bought out. I didn't even know that ever happened.
Neither did I.
But hey, most people like to forget about Mike Ribeiro. But look at them real quickly. They're still in there. They're still a playoff spot, second in the Pacific Division.
Oh, for sure. I think they're by far they're a playoff team, no question.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that they don't make the playoffs, even with the situation with their goalies.
Mm-hmm. You look at the entire Pacific Division, 1 to 5 are separated by 3 points. It's the Flames beating the Oilers last night got them in first. I didn't even realize they were in that position. I thought they were still in fifth, but perfect timing to get one of the most stable defensive defensemen in the league back.
I mean, considering their last 2 games really haven't gone their way, they lost 3-0 to Carolina and then 4-0 to Tampa Bay. this is kind of exactly what they needed. And he slots right into their defense.
I'll tell you another player that's needed on this team, because when Sidney Crosby goes down, you need all the help you can get. Brian Rust, who has a career high of 38 points in 69 games played, nice, in the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. 30 games into this season, he's already at 37, a point behind his career high. He's tied his career high in goals and is almost there in assists as well. So more than a point per game is Brian Rust.
This is literally the definition of the Pittsburgh Penguins right here. You have two big players going down at different times. You lose Jake Ensel, and there's just one guy who is stepping up. One guy, not necessarily, it was not just one guy, but I don't think if I showed you Brian Rust stats at the beginning of the season, these stats, 37 points in 30 games, you would have told me I was crazy.
For sure.
I don't think anyone would have predicted 37 points in 30 games played.
To give you some perspective, Jake Gensel led them 43 points. Malkin has 42 and 31. Brian Rust is up there, 37 and 30. Chris Letang, 28 and 36. So, Dave Cahoon or something, 26 points is up there. I love how
Dominic Cahoon.
Dominic Cahoon, sorry. A no name you've never heard of, but will be a great piece, and we'll get you a first and a second at the trade deadline somehow because, Penguins. But I think maybe Brian Rust, there's an argument that he could be an NHL All-Star, Alex. And considering there's been some changes in the All-Star game the past few days, so replacements have come in. Max Pacioretty, who is quietly playing some of the best hockey of his career in Vegas, is in for Jacob Silfverberg, who shouldn't have been there to begin with. Silfverberg expecting a kid around that time. Good for him. And also, Thomas Hertl is in for Logan Couture. Logan Couture, we don't know if it's week to week yet or if it's apparently...
It's 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah. And, of course, his teammate replacing him there. Alex, I'm seeing very quickly, though, still no love for our boy, considering later on we found the last men in were Mitch Marner, TJ Oshie, Quentin Hughes, and not Cale Makar in the Central Division.
Hey, there's a set of people who you can blame for not having Cale Makar in the All-Star game. That is the Avalanche fans. Ooh.
Well, they don't even get to watch their own games, so how could they?
Hey, man, everyone's been talking about this guy.
I can't even remember who it was. Sorry, David Perron, who was also having a quietly point per game year with Ryan O'Reilly on the Blues. I mean, the Blues already have 3 players going because it's in St. Louis, but I mean, David Perron over Cale Makar? Really?
Listen, we talked about the All-Star game last week. We said it's not for us. It's not for us. It's for the kids. When was the last time you watched the All-Star game?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while. And I've seen a lot of comments. I think Bill Daly came out with some comments about the All-Star game. And it just seems like, man, like the fact that you have to come out and say these things, make it more entertaining. Do I don't know what you have to do. Something needs to be done because now isn't not only the fans, a lot of fans don't care, the players don't care. You had Dylan Larkin, how old is Dylan Larkin?
He did apologize, though, did Dylan Larkin?
I get it. Yeah, but he still said it. Dylan Larkin's 23. He's the guy you want at the All-Star game, the next generation of players. And he's like, I don't want to, like basically saying I don't want to go to the All-Star game.
Well, Alex, even if the males don't want to go, it looks like there's going to be more female hockey players in the league. Of course, last year, you had Kelly Schofield, who actually beat Miro Heiskanen Simon fastest skater. And, of course, I think it was Brianna Decker, who actually won the accuracy shooting. And the whole fan base of like the entire league had to go and cause a bunch of stir just so she'd get the winning prize. There's going to be more women involved in the game this year, apparently, which, Alex, I'm actually very okay with. A lot of people go and scoff at women's hockey, but, I mean, you're just laughing at growing the game. And I remember there's this story of after, I think it was Tampa Bay had practice once, and there was a women's team who was practicing right after them. And Vincent LeCavalier, he would go and watch the women's practice. I think it was Marie-Philippe Poulin was there, and he just stood there, watched the entire practice, and he turned to someone and he said, "That's a damn player right there." So, and Vinny LeCavalier is a good player, right? So it's really good for the game, honestly. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know why people are complaining about it, but that's a whole separate issue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's awesome. Adding different things to the All-Star game to make it more interesting.
Bring back the shootout competition.
The real shootout competition, not whatever the hell it is now.
We want.
I don't know what it is now anymore. It's like a goaltending challenge. Make it something interesting.
Was it Lundqvist or Fleury had like 30 straight saves? That was cool, but I want Ovechkin in sunglasses and 2 sticks and everyone doing the flying V stuff. That was fun.
I want Carey Price to save a shot backwards. How about that? That's what I want to see.
Man, he was great last night. Talk about that a little later. But Alex, I love recording the show on a Sunday because we'll have Saturday headlines from Sportsnet, and it fuels the show. Last night we found out that the New York Rangers are listening to calls on Alex Georgiev, who, of course, is a pretty good little goalie. Probably not a starter, as we talked about, but, someone who could be great in the platoon system. But they want a forward that is a young forward who's close or is ready to play in the league.
Yeah, man, it seems like, we talked about it on Wednesday, how Georgiev at this point is probably your odd man out, considering Shesterkin, how well he's done in his couple games in the NHL so far. It seems like, listen, and I don't want to go down this road and say the Leafs could have the best offer. I don't know for a fact. I doubt. I've seen people saying that they could get a better player than Jeremy Bracco. But it seems like Jeremy Bracco just fits what they're looking for. A young forward who is almost NHL ready. On the Rangers, he could potentially be NHL ready. It just seems like a perfect fit for considering that the Leafs are listening for offers on Bracco.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what type of offer, what they're going to do moving forward, because I know when Friedman originally reported Bracco was on the trade block, he was talking about there was some type of sense that he was going to be part of a bigger trade, not necessarily being the main part of a deal. So we'll see what happens on that front. Are there any players that come to mind a team that needs a backup goalie or could use a goalie just in general that would fit that description?
I wonder, I don't know how practical this is, but I wonder if there's some sort of scenario where, I know the Rangers are kind of messed up with cap space, but they could use some more centermen outside of Mika's Zibanejad, of course. I wonder if there's some sort of deal to be worked out with Kyle Turris, because it sounds like he's been on the block for a while. Of course, see what he can do under John Hines, but it's always kind of been a square in a round, trying to put a square peg in a round hole in Nashville. So I that's just what comes to mind right away. Pure speculation there, but
do they have any prospects that you think would entice the Rangers?
The only one that comes to mind, and we talked about him last week, and playing in the AHL, and as you can tell, I'm clearly stalling because I can't remember his name.
Is it Eli Tolvanen?
Tolvanen, yeah.
Tolvanen.
But you wonder how close he is. I can't think of anyone else Nashville might have. I'm quickly going, like, New Jersey hit me for a second.
Yeah, but I don't think they're in any type of place to give up a prospect.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I kind of want to go down this Nashville road. If Nashville does make an offer, is UC Saros going back? Because now if he goes to Nashville, now Nashville's in the same situation. They have 3 NHL goalies. And I don't think Pekka Rinne is going back to the Rangers. That just doesn't seem realistic.
No.
So would Saros go back?
I would imagine he would, yeah.
And then the Rangers are in another situation. It's difficult because you look at a lot of teams who would want a goalie. The first one, contenders wise, that comes to mind is the Leafs. I'd still argue they need a backup goalie, but most teams that would need a goalie don't really want to give up any type of prospect.
No.
That's where I kind of get stalled on, okay, what team would take Georgiev?
Maybe someone with the Sabres too. I mean, Casey Millstat probably isn't what they expected him to be. And I get he's still 21, but
yeah, there are talks of Evan Rodriguez. I think Friedman reported it last week or in 31 Thoughts.
Yeah.
Evan Rodriguez being the next guy to kind of be moved. Would he be enough? Probably not. My guess is, considering things aren't really going Rodriguez's way so far. But we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. It doesn't seem like they really want to move Georgiev, but it seems like it's something they have to do at some point. Right now, it seems like they're content with having 3 goalies.
If only Henrik Lundqvist had 1 year left, then you could probably figure it out. But also the Rangers are kind of looks like they're trying to ruin trade deadline this year. Apparently they are I think this was from Elliot Friedman as well. The Rangers are thinking of re-signing or looking into re-signing Chris Kreider, which, I mean, a smart move. You love the kind of player he is, but can they not ruin trade deadline this year? It's going to be boring enough.
It honestly will be quite boring. I think we had a conversation.
I wake up
about
at 8 to watch it every year, thinking something's going to happen, and it never does until the last hour.
Yeah, then you have those random trades that come in. Like last year was like Par Lindholm for Nick Petan. That was the one trade that came in late or something like that. But that's an interesting thing to hear, that they want to re-sign Chris Kreider. I mean, it would make – listen, here's why it would make sense, considering Kreider, Zibanejad, and Buchnevich have been a pretty good line for the Rangers this year. I just don't know how much sense it makes for them to bring him back, considering – they have right now, they'll have $14 million in cap space next year. They have to re-sign Tony DeAngelo. What are they going to do with Ryan Strome? It's interesting to see. Like, they still have Vitaly Kravtsov, who's playing in the AHL right now, who is probably almost NHL ready at this point. Does it make sense to bring Kreider back? Could they? Still, the first thing that comes to mind with me for Chris Kreider is, could they do? And I know this seems weird, but when Plekanec was traded to the Leafs, it was kind of already known that he wasn't re-signing with the Leafs. He was re-signing with the Canadiens, and that was pretty much said on day one.
Yeah.
Do you think something like that could potentially happen with Kreider, considering it seems like he has a close connection with the Rangers and he's pretty tight there? They trade him at the deadline. It doesn't seem like they're going to make the playoffs. It seems like that'd be something that they could potentially do?
Well, it's weird because Chris Kreider is 28, right? And the thing with him is he plays a very physical style. So I would imagine if I'm Chris Kreider, I kind of put this thing of where I love and all that to play in that second, rather than I would go play where I can, best scenario, try and get the biggest contract I can. One of those 7-year deals are going to be terrible after year 3. Again, or maybe Kreider would prefer to, take the discount and stay in New York. I don't know. Yeah, I thought they had less cap space than that. And I wouldn't say maybe they're not going to make the playoffs because who knows what Shesterkin turns into. And, Bennington's an example of, oh, hello there, goaltending. What happened there? But if I'm Chris Kreider, yeah, I would focus on going into my UFA year and getting my payday.
Okay. They also have to re-sign Georgiev if they don't trade him. Just putting that out there.
You mentioned Tony Angelo earlier. He had a 5-point night the other day, a hat trick. He took a 1-year deal this year as a defenseman, 36 points in 44 games played, 11 goals.
Wow.
He's a guy, 19th overall pick by Tampa Bay in 2014. I believe he went over in the... I don't think it was the JT Miller Big Shield. Was it? I wonder if it was the...
No, the Derek Stepan.
Derek Stepan?
Yeah, he was traded for a second-round pick back in 2016 to the Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes, almost a year later, then traded him to the New York Rangers along with a first-round pick for Derek Stepan and Antti Ranta.
You remember when Mika Zibanejad was a Senator?
I do.
And now he's amazing. But Tony DeAngelo, he's an interesting case because I think his political views have always kind of gotten in the way of how people see him as a player. Especially when you start yelling about impeachment stuff. I think that's just not the best way to go, sir. But a former Sioux Greyhound.
What can I say? They know what they're doing, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, moving on to the Rangers, I want to give some love to my boy Jonathan Huberdeau.
Tell me why.
He's had, I remember that one time we talked about how he had, I think it was 8 points in 2 games. This year, very quietly, 59 points in 44 games played. He had 92 points last year. He's on pace to have a career high in goals. Same with the points. He's somehow started to go over the head of Sasha Barkov, which is incredible to me. And because he plays in Florida, we just completely forget he exists. And he's French, so he's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that no one really talks about.
Until they come to Toronto and he lights them up, like what happened with Sasha Barkov a few years ago.
I feel like it's been for the last few years, Florida has Florida has pretty much had those guys that we don't know much about. First, it was Marchessault. Then it was Barkov. And now it's Huberdeau.
I'm looking at Cap Friendly quickly. First of all, I forgot Keith Yandel makes $8.2 million.
He makes how much?
$8.289 million.
Sorry, $8 million?
Yeah, and he's 33. He makes that for 4 more years.
Wait, Keith Yandel?
Yes, Keith Yandel.
Man, I don't see that.
He can get I forgot about this. Keith Yandel's like a 40 to 60 point defenseman sometimes.
Cap Friendly says Keith Yandel makes 6.35. Are you sure that's not in Canadian dollars?
Do I have it in Canadian?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, whoopsie-daisy.
That's why.
Like that. I was about to say, did I miss this? Okay, and what's also really funny about... God damn it. Why did I do that? You also look at Huberdeau and Barkov's contracts. Barkov, 3 more years at 5.9. Then Jonathan Huberdeau, 90-point player, pays for 100 points this year, 26 years old, 4 more years at 5.9 as well.
Those are going to be some big paydays.
Those are they remind me of the McKinnon, Huberdeau's is just like McKinnon's deal is, his best years, he's incredibly cheap. And it just puts you in the... If only they could get a save, they would be in the playoffs, no problem.
I think they're a playoff team.
I listen, dude. I forgot, when Luongo's still there. But, I forgot. They bought out Scott Darling? What? Okay. I don't know, man. The Atlantic's tight, and that wild card race is just... I think the top three in the Atlantic are still the top three in the Atlantic, but there's plenty to go on here, Alex. But, we're talking about things like how good Jonathan Huberdeau is. We got to talk about another player who's pretty awesome because he has more goals than most of the Detroit Red Wings. That's Pekka Rinne, a goalie goal, Alex.
Yeah, that is... You don't see that a whole lot.
First time since 2013.
Yeah, it's awesome to see a goalie goal. I mean, I wish his team was doing better, but, it's nice to see a goalie goal. That's pretty much it.
I go nuts whenever I see them. I
think he was going nuts when he scored.
Oh, like, the Blackhawk fans around him seemed so upset, but if I was them, I would be... I think I would be okay with it.
There's certain things that when you're at a game and the opposing team does something, you have to cheer for. A goalie goal, when McDavid does something incredible, and that's pretty much it.
Just to give you some names of goalies who have scored in the past. Billy Smith, Ron Hextall has 2 goals, Chris Osgood. Martin Brodeur actually has 3 goals, 1 in the playoffs, 2 regular season. Against the Montreal Canadiens, god damn it. Damian Rhodes, who I've never heard of. Jose Taylor for the Montreal Canadiens. Evgeny Nabokov, Mika Norikin, Chris Mason, Cam Ward, Mike Smith, and now Pekka Rinne.
Joins a very prestigious list of names.
He does. I'm happy for him. I really am. I wish that, I want Carey Price to do it. Really, really do. Because, if anyone could. It's like Smith and Price are those puck handlers, but although Mike Smith needs to learn to stop the puck before he starts shooting them. But, Alex, so we move on to some stuff about the Anaheim Ducks. Also came out in the headlines last night that they are willing to take on your team's bad deal, but it's going to cost you a young prospect.
Yeah, I saw that. That was quite interesting. I mean, that's funny because I think there's only 2 teams who have pretty much been doing that of late. Anaheim's now come out and said, sure, yeah, we'll take them. And then the Ottawa Senators. So they're butting heads for your LTIR contracts. Are there any names that come to mind that could be sent to the Anaheim Ducks?
Maybe if Brent Seabrook is legit, he's the next one to be sent off.
Ooh, that's interesting. Interesting.
Why is Ryan Kessler on IR and not LTIR?
I have no idea. I think he can come back. That's why.
Okay. Well,
at some point.
Right away, that's the first guy I think of. I don't see Oscar Lindblom being sent there, but you hope that all works out. But I mean, right now, I can't really think of anyone who would. But because I think Calgary would have been a prime contender, but of course they just cleared some room. Maybe Tampa somehow gets some shenanigans. But Tampa isn't really trying to dump because they don't have any ghost contracts. But you wonder we say this every year, but with Cirelli and Sergachev coming up this year, you would imagine that it's time for Tampa to, trade somebody. But I don't know. I can't think of anyone right off.
They're still going to figure it out. That's pretty much Tampa Bay for you.
Because the big contracts right now on LTR you think of are the guys on Arizona, a.k.a. Marian Hossa and that. You're not going to Detroit aren't going to go and get rid of Zetterberg's deal because they kind of need that thing to get to the bottom of the cap. The Leafs only have Clarkson and Nathan Horton for this year, and they need the LTIR for, whatever's going on with Marner's contract and all those shenanigans. But no one hits me. Maybe Buffalo, because, they've been trying to get rid of some sort of player to make room, like one of their defensemen, but they're healthy. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It was very strange because I thought they were in a cap team were the Anaheim Ducks.
They have right now 2.175 in projected cap space.
But I don't get that.
And next year they'll have, well, July 1st, or whoever they don't resign, they'll have 9.9. They'll almost have 10 million in cap space. Mm-hmm. And who do they have to resign? Jacob Larson, Devin Shore, and Daniel Sprong, and Ryan Miller. Those are pretty much your big names that have not big names for Anaheim that have to get re-signed.
Yeah. I was gonna say, has Daniel Sprong been doing anything? I mean, he was not really. I mean, he had 14 goals in 47 games for Anaheim, but I mean, what are you gonna say about it? Remember when he was the next big thing in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I do.
What are you gonna do about it?
Oh, nothing.
So
Can
Alex,
we talk about overtime?
Yeah, people started making noise about this when we got to the double the World Juniors and the whole 10 minutes of OT, then the shootout. But after the Leafs game the other day and the whole thing of overtime there and how exciting it was, but then going to a shootout or whatever, overtime is too short. 5 minutes? No, give us 10 minutes of OT.
I mean, I think we're both on the same idea about how stupid the shootout is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have, and I don't remember who made this analogy, but it's like you don't have free throw contests after overtime in a basketball game. You don't have a dunk contest after overtime in a basketball game. That's what it is. That's like the closest equivalent in a different sport. You don't have a field goal contest in football after overtime. It just doesn't. The shootout concept, I still don't understand why it's still in the game. I really don't. But for overtime specifically, overtime is too short. Overtime is too short. It's 5 minutes. What's gonna get done in 5 minutes?
You may score, but at the same time, if you ever have Mike Babcock line matching it, you're probably going to a shootout.
Don't remind me of that. That's not.
I can't wait till he gets hired in Montreal. Like, he's surprised. It's gonna.
I'll laugh. All
right. Well, Alex, I have to ask you, what is your read of the bye week?
You go first. I always go first.
Months from Arp and Bossy of The Athletic. A big Canadians win marked the low-key return of one of their important young players. And we all forget that Victor Mete is only 21. His third NHL season. He's, beside the injury, he's having a surprisingly good offensive year. Again, scoring goals. I think he has 4 on the season. Love Victor Mete. So we talk about a lot of young players, but I love Victor Mete. Good player. Nice guy.
Okay. I got a good one.
Okay.
It's about someone we talked about before. This is from George Richards of The Athletic. About time to become the Panthers' all-time leading scorer. Jonathan Huberdeau hopes he's here to stay.
Really? Oh, I forgot. God,
Did you know?
Jokinen?
I believe it is Jokinen.
Panthers all-time scorers. Hold on. I saw that one and I almost thought, you know what, that looks good.
It is quite good. I didn't realize how long he's been in the league. It's
511 games played. Yeah, he's a point behind Jokinen and doing it in like 50 less games. Stephen Weiss is third.
Oh, God.
That's not good. Pavel Bury is 12th. I forgot that happened. Ray Whitney's up there. Bowmeister's up there. Most of them are all active players. Yager is in top 30, but yeah, good for Huberto. Barkov's not far behind, but yeah.
No, I completely forgot about how long Jonathan Huberto has been in the league since 2013.
I wasn't even watching hockey.
I think I was 2 years in. Wow, God.
Sean Matthias is in their top 50 scorers of all time.
Sean Matthias. I'm pretty sure he played a few games for the Leafs.
He did.
God.
Alex, it's time to talk about some segments, and I want to talk to you about the Battle of Alberta that happened last night. The Flames and the Oilers, it never disappoints. There's big hits, there's lots of pretty goals, but most of all, there's some drama, and guess who's at the center of it? It's
Matthew Tkachuk.
So he was, he had some big hits last night, a few against Zach Kassian. One should probably get suspended, but the one that drew a lot of the people's attention was actually one later in the game. I thought it was a completely clean hit, this one. But as a result, because Zach Kassian was getting pummeled by Tkachuk all night, Kassian just ragdolls him. Tkachuk's not going to fight at all because he's not going to lower himself to a fourth liner. But seriously, he gets up again. I'm sure you've seen the video, Alex. Kassian just throws him around like he is nothing. It is hilarious.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I had a couple problems. Now, the first one was the first hit. I'm assuming there were two big hits that everyone was talking about before Kassian threw him around. The first Tkachuk hit was, I'm very sure it was the main point of contact was the head. If it wasn't the head, it was pretty much the neck.
The one Rachel Dorey probably tweeted about.
Yes, it was that one. That was direct contact to the head. Main point of contact. No one did a thing. Okay. I'm not even going to yell about the Department of Player Safety. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Because, again, for some reason, only Kassian is getting a hearing. For some reason.
He should, though.
No, I'm not arguing if he should or shouldn't. I think both of them should get a hearing. Both of them should get hearings. Now, my second problem is I don't know what is going through and I get it. They have a difficult job. I understand. I don't know what was going through the ref's mind at that time. There are 4 players involved. If you go watch the Matthew Tkachuk and Zach Kassian thing, it wasn't just the two of them. For some reason, Elias Lindholm is there, and another Edmonton player is there, and Cassie's just ragdolling Tkachuk. Well, Lindholm's has someone.
Giordano doesn't do anything.
What?
Giordano doesn't even do anything, and McDavid skates away like nothing's happening.
Yeah, but there's 4 players involved in that one incident, and the refs are like, "Oh, it's like go in there." Go in there. I get they're fighting, but the thing is there's 4 players fighting. Or there's 2 players fighting and then 2 just there acting like the ref. Like, what's the point? If they were just straight out beating the crap out of each other, that's fine. But that's not what was happening. And no one did a single thing.
You want to hear a tweet from Mark Spector?
Sure.
For a guy who throws a lot of big hits at big guys, Tkachuk sure doesn't like to answer the bell. He's fast getting the rep of the Turtle of Alberta. We all know what Spec is about.
Another player. Really funny. Well, no, he's not necessarily wrong. He does the same thing with Drew Doughty. Now it's begun with Zach Kassian. I mean, there's another player in the NHL who does the same thing. And I think we both know who that is.
Would you be talking about young Tom Wilson?
No, because Tom Wilson will answer. I'm talking about Brad Marchand.
Oh, no, he's not been scummy lately. He's cleaned it up.
No, but in his prime Brad Marchand days.
Well, if you ever, when he was licking people, if you ever get sick of Brad Marchand, just look up the hit PK Soup answer on him. My God. Do you want to hear some of the comments that Tkachuk and Kassian were throwing back at each other?
Yeah, I saw it. Go, you can tell me anyways.
So, this is from Zach Kassian and Matthew Tkachuk. Quote, "Wouldn't fight me 2 years ago, said I was a fourth liner. Now I have 13 goals. What's the excuse now? You know what I mean." End quote. First of all, Zach Kassian is a fourth liner. The guy would have 3 goals if he didn't play with Connor McDavid. Matthew Tkachuk, by the way, also said on Zach Kassian, quote, "If Kassian doesn't want to get hit, then stay off the tracks. I caught him 3 times there. You think he'd learn after the first one? If he wants to react that way, we'll take the power play. We'll take the game winner, and we'll move on to first place." By the way, yeah, they are now first in the Pacific Division because of that. Also, Zach Kassian, called Matthew Tkachuk a word I won't say on this podcast, but I joked about how he was going to get fined and suspended. He'll be suspended for the roughing, I think, and he'll probably get a fine for what he said, because he can't do that. And a lot of people were giving him crap for that. And yeah, even if you get hit, I understand that. The head hit he got, but like Zach Kassian can't start using that kind of language.
Wait, who was he talking about? Matthew Tkachuk, or was he talking about the Department of Player Safety?
I thought it was about Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh, okay. I didn't read that quote. It sounds pretty bad. I haven't read it yet. One.
Sorry, I'll get it up quickly, but just give me your thoughts on those little quotes there.
I mean, it's just another example of him. To be honest, it's just another Matthew Tkachuk thing. That's pretty much what it is. He does the same stuff with Drew Doughty. Every time the Kings play the Flames, it's done, and then something happens. He does something.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this is.
He's a Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Like Brady was being such a prick against Carey Price last night. It was... And quickly, Alex, I'm texting you like iMessage the quote from him. I think it was this is from Daniel Nugent Bowman. Quote,
okay.
What he said, I don't want to say it here.
The first one is he's a young punk. I think that's okay.
Yeah, that is.
The second one, yeah, that's fair.
You can't say that. And then he said, so the guy who he got, and then this Daniel Nugent Bowman said, Zach Kassian's very candid when speaking to reporters in a post-game scrum about Matthew Tkachuk. Says he loves the battle with Tkachuk and wish the Oilers could play the Flames in the playoff series.
That would be a killer playoff series.
We don't deserve such a good time.
No, but that's fine because the Edmonton Oilers are making the playoffs. So.
Hey, anything can happen.
Exactly. See, anything can happen, man. I guess another thing, or do you have anything else to say about Matthew Tkachuk?
Not about Tkachuk, no.
Do you have anything to say about Zach Kassian?
Not about Kassian, no.
Okay, so another thing out of, I guess, this game that we didn't really get to earlier, Rasmus Andersson signed an extension. Now, he's right-handed. He's probably a bright spot for this defense. 6 years at 4.55. Now, it seems high, right, for right now. That would kind of be what I've been reading. I would say the same thing. I think it's a little bit high right now, but I think it can turn into one of those deals where 2 to 3 years from now, completely different situation. First off, he's right, which you automatically make more money if you're right-handed.
Yeah.
He's 23, and it seems like he's a top 4 defenseman for sure.
He had 19 points last year, and he's already at 13 so far in 47 games played.
Yeah, he's going to be a good defenseman. No question about it.
Between like $4.5 million, I think that's your prototypical. Like whenever I play NHL 20 in GM mode, it seems like your like baseline top 4 forward defenseman. Sorry, your top 4 defenseman kind of contract is around a 4.5.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, I don't know, Matt Dumba, and you get like 6 or 7, but.
Yeah, but Matt Dumba's good, man.
I mean, yeah, but I think it's a very fair deal. I'll say that. I don't know that much about Rasmus Anderson besides what I heard about from Brian Burke.
I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Yeah?
I've been reading a lot of good things about him. And considering that they might lose two players who can play on the right side, and Travis Hamonic and TJ Brody, this signing probably means one of them is gone, and it seems like that guy might be Brody, just because he's probably going to get something a little bit bigger than what Travis Hamonic would get.
Tell me about shot suppression.
What?
So you told me some good things about Rasmus Anderson. Tell me about his shot suppression. Shot suppression.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Tell me about his heat maps.
Don't do that to me.
Tell me about his team save percentage when he's on the ice.
I'm just going to move on.
I don't hate analytics, by the way. I'm just having fun. Did you see McDavid's goal?
I did see McDavid's goal.
He's so good.
Yeah, but like that's what we kind of expect from McDavid.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, there were so many shifts because I haven't watched a lot of McDavid games. Right, I watch when he plays Montreal, and I would watch him when he's in the playoffs, but that doesn't happen. But it's just you forget just the guy's speed is just so amazing.
He is the fastest player.
Yeah, he's. I wish he was ahead. I can't say anything more than that.
Let's get to a team that really isn't doing so well this year.
Who would that be?
The San Jose Sharks.
No, they're not good. But Alex,
they're
breaking up their core.
No, they're not breaking up their core. They sit 13th in the conference, and they sit 6th in the Pacific Division. They are quite some ways away from 3rd, from a divisional spot, and I don't think they're that close to a wild card spot either, considering how they've been playing. I mean, sure, yeah, they've won. See, the thing is, they've won their last 2 games, but they've been so inconsistent. They've been on and off that I don't know what this team is. I don't.
They are 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. They Patrick Marleau played game 1700 last night, so congratulations to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. The thing is, though, they lost Logan Couture.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that is a pretty big injury, especially it's 6 weeks. What do they do moving forward? Because do you want to hear their center depth?
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so this is from Daily Faceoff. Line 1, Thomas Hertl.
He's good.
Line 2, Antti Suomela.
I'm sorry.
Line 3, Joe Thornton.
All right, fair. Yeah, he's good.
Line 4, Joel Kellman.
He's not real.
No, man, he's real.
No, he's not.
So you see, you lose one guy in Logan Couture, and it just seems like the team is a little bit of a mess.
No depth.
And the thing with this team is I think they get a lot of offense, or on paper, they should get a lot of offense from their defense in Burns and Carlson specifically. But it seems like they're not having the greatest of years. I mean, sure, Carlson has 34 points in 46 games. Burns has 32 points in 47 games. But the thing is, they didn't start the season very strong, and I think it backfired on them.
Yeah.
I really do think it backfired on them. And I know you literally mentioned it a couple minutes ago that Friedman said that they're not going to break up their core. Now, what's their core?
Probably, it's Hurdle, it's Couture, it's Carlson, it's Burns, I'm just quickly, Timo Meier not going to trade. Evander Kane, I guess, is part of that. And Marc-Andre Vlasic, I guess, is their core, is those guys, but I'm not expecting that Martin Jones is part of it. So I'd say it's those three defensemen and then those, 4 forwards. But then the problem is...
Did you include Kane?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So
Couture, Kane, Meier, Hurdle, I think are the 4. Maybe probably Kevin LeBanc too, but yeah, let's see what that contract negotiation looks like. Because he's not had the best year either. Right.
This team is in a bit of a limbo simply because, number one, I don't think they can afford... This is the thing. I don't think they can afford to break up their core simply because they don't have their first-round pick.
Yeah, which I forgot about that for a second.
The team needs to pick it up, and I think Doug Wilson is their GM, believes that they can pick it up because what's the difference between the team this year and the team last year in player wise? They're missing Joe Pavelski. That's it.
Well, that's
and that's a pretty big part. I get that. That's a pretty big part. I know. But considering LeBanc was supposed to get better, Hurdle, Meier were supposed to get better. Evander Kane was supposed to be good. Now, Evander Kane has 18 goals and 33 points in 44 games. I just don't think. I think they didn't think the goaltending was going to be this bad. And it's funny because I look at the goaltending now, and one of their goalies have kind of stepped it up lately. Aaron Dell is now has a save percentage above 900.
That's nice.
He's 8-7-2. He's 4-1 in his last 5 games. And it seems like he's been pretty consistent, but they're not getting it's Martin Jones still has an 890. He is 1-3-1 in his last 5 games.
What's his save percentage?
3 below 900 and 2 above 950.
Oh, what are you doing? Wait, 2 above 950?
Yeah.
So he's so consistency does not. Yeah, we talked about that. Like, who's more inconsistent?
We've talked about it before.
Yeah,
it's his consistency that's the problem, and I don't know what they do because we talked about a goalie earlier. We talked about Georgiev. I don't think he's an option for San Jose simply because, now you're stuck with 3 goalies. You're not going to it doesn't make sense to get rid of Aaron Dell because he's been picking it up lately, and I don't think you're trading Martin Jones.
Well, I wouldn't say a stretch is enough to tell you to keep Aaron Dell or not.
No, it's not. I'm not saying it is, but it seems like he's been your consistent guy lately.
Well, let's say it is the Sharks. Let's spitfire. Let's spitball some stuff here. The deal, I would guess at first, would probably be a sort of deal involving Kevin LeBanc, maybe? And then, you get somebody to light a fire under Martin Jones, be some competition for the starter job. And, I don't know, man. Maybe.
I don't know if they want to give up I don't know if they'd want to give up Kevin LeBanc.
I mean, you got to give someone to get something, and they need a goalie.
Yeah, I just think considering last year they didn't have consistent goaltending, and it got them to the conference finals, did it not?
Yes. I mean, they're only 6 points behind the Canucks for second wild card. Again, now it is 4 teams ahead of them, and 2 of them are Nashville and Winnipeg, but I mean, that's not impossible for them to get over.
No, it's not impossible. It's just they're going to have to play above expectation for pretty much the rest of the season.
Well, I think Martin Jones just needs to be a league average goaltender.
Yeah. He needs to. It's not that he has to be a league average goaltender. He has to be a consistent goaltender. Fair. That's what's been the problem. If he's a consistent league average goaltender, then I think we're having a completely different conversation than we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that they're having trouble. It's not that they don't have the players to score. It's that they're letting in more than they can. Than they can score. They have and I know it's not something a lot of people use, but I'm going to use it anyways. They have a minus of -27. Like, so, and I think, yeah, their biggest issue is their goaltending. But
without a doubt.
But they've got to do something. I don't think they are, though. I really don't think they're going to do anything. That's what it seems like. If they're not willing to break up their core.
Well, Alex, I think they will be an interesting team to watch out for come trade deadline because Doug Wilson. Anyway, though, Alex, we have some teams to talk about with the Leafs and the Habs. Where do we want to go?
I can start. I don't mind.
Magic Hands Marty. That's it.
He is re-signed.
The show is over. That's it. Martin Marincin is re-signed.
I don't know why. But whatever. No, I respect Martin Marincin. That's pretty awesome. Considering he's not the best defenseman in the world, but they obviously see something in him. I don't know exactly what it is, but good for him. Now, I wanted to do something, considering that the Leafs are going to get Trevor Moore and Andreas Johnsson back at some point. They also have Ilya Mikheyev, but he's pretty much done for at least the regular season. I wanted to see what this team looks like fully healthy, because it seems like they have quite a bit of wing depth. And you're going to help me create a lineup for the Leafs.
Ooh, okay. I like doing this stuff.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get a pen and paper. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay. I'm going to get my green pen, Alex. I'm going to get my notebook out. No, that's just my... No, that's my... Hold on a minute, Alex. Did I tell you about, just while I'm quickly getting this ready, did I tell you about the yearbook I got from the Habs?
No.
Season ticket holders get this cool yearbook. I got one. It's like a page on Flambeau and everything. All right, I have my pen and my paper in front of me, Alex.
Okay, so we'll start with line 1. Hyman, Matthews, Marner.
All right. Hold on. Hyman's on the left, right?
Correct.
Hyman. We're going to call Matthews Stash, and then Mitchie. All right, that's what you're gonna do for your top line, eh?
I mean, yeah, I'm just calling it line one. Line one and line two are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah. But is this? Let's say if the Leafs are completely healthy.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes,
Go on,
yes.
yeah.
Line two is Janssen, Tavares, Nylander.
All right. Janssen, Tavares, and the Swedish one.
Yeah, William
Actually
Nylander.
from Alberta. Okay. Cool.
Oh my god. I'm already stuck. Okay. Third line, you have Kerfoot, Kapanen as your center right wing. Leave the left wing blank. I have to think about it.
Kerfoot and Kapanen. Okay.
And then your bottom. Oh my god. This is difficult. Okay, your fourth line is Spezza center and Gauthier right wing.
Okay. Go. All right. So just to remind you, you have the mustache Hyman and Mickey. You've got Janssen, the Swedish one, and Tavares, and then you still have any left wingers, but you have Cappy and Kerfoot and Goat and Jason.
Okay, I see. This is where I have trouble because pretty much I don't think Timashov draws into this lineup. I think Engvall has proved himself enough to become a guy in this lineup. It's a matter of, do I put Engvall third or fourth line, and do I put Moore third or fourth line?
Ooh,
Because Engvall would look good on the third line. So I'm going to put Engvall on the third line and Moore on the fourth line for now.
all right. Engvall and Moore. Okay.
And then Timashov is your, I guess, 13th forward.
All right. And Timmy is 13.
But what you would agree with that, right? Like,
Yeah, how about you do your lineup and then I'll give you what I would do.
okay. That is my lineup. Do you want me to do defense too?
Yeah, defense and reduce. Yeah.
Okay, so defense is Riley Berry, Muzzin Hall, Dermott Cece.
Hold on. I'm writing this down. I want to okay, sorry. Riley Berry's your top pairing, okay?
Yeah. Muzzin Hall as your shutdown pair, and Dermott Cece.
And Dermott.
I'm assuming they're not going to call up Sandine.
But is this what you think will happen, or like this isn't like what you would want then?
That's what I think is going to happen when everything's healthy.
Okay, and then I'm assuming it's who do you have as Freddie's backup?
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson? Okay.
I don't think right now they're going to make a trade because I think they like everyone. I think they're pretty content with Hutch, considering his last 3 games.
Okay.
So is there anything you change?
Would you perhaps want to go on a rant about player safety or something while I figure this out? Because
what do you want me to talk about?
You know what? Whatever you want, man. How about Alex? Why don't you tell me about how the Toronto media has absolutely played that McDavid clip to death?
Yeah, they have played that McDavid clip to death simply because it was against Toronto. I know we've talked about it before, how a lot of Sportsnet and TSN is Toronto related. But that's just how it is. But that's kind of at this point. Like, I don't know exactly what you want me to say about that. But I can go on a rant about the Department of Player Safety because that's what I'm good at. Yeah, they really need to, and I think I've said this many times before, it is science. Science does show that head hits are bad, but I feel like they're not interested in doing anything about it. And it's really stupid that that's the case. And you know where I think the problem comes from? And I know a lot of people, not a lot, I know I've seen quite a few people say this, is that maybe they need to get someone as the head of Department of Player Safety who wasn't an absolute pest. I don't want this to sound Leafs biased because I know it absolutely will, but I don't mean it like that. When Brendan Shanahan was running the Department of Player Safety, it didn't seem like there were that many issues. So
He's a sensible man, isn't he?
Pardon?
He's a sensible man.
It seems like it. Like I hope that doesn't come off as Leafs biased, because I get it. He is the president of the Leafs, but that's not how I'm basing this off of. He really is. I think he was doing quite a good job with the Department of Player Safety, and I'm really sick and tired of seeing head hits going uncalled for. I get it in game because, there's restrictions on replays and, not everyone has the best view. I understand that. I'm not worried about the end game stuff. There's a whole separate issue I have with the refs. But the fact that you watch the replay and you say, I don't know about that one is really ridiculous. And last night, the head hit, the clear head hit on Cassian that went uncalled for was absolutely ridiculous.
I have my lineup ready.
Okay.
All right, so my goaltenders, I have Frederick Anderson, and instead I have Kasimir Kaski-Suo. I think he deserves a chance. Of course, I like Hutchinson, but I would like to see Kaski-Suo get a real chance with the Leafs. Okay? When it comes to defensemen, my third pairing is Morgan Riley and Cody Ceci. My second pairing is Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall. My top pairing is Tyson Barrie and Magic Hands Martin Marincin.
Is this a joke or?
No, Alex, I'm 100% serious. My top line is Nathan Horton with John Tavares.
Okay, you know what? You want to play that game? Okay, we're moving on to. We're moving on. I don't care. Nathan Horton hasn't played a game in like 4 years.
Alex.
He has a back injury.
Okay.
I regret asking.
Nathan Horton, and on his wing, Austin Matthews.
I'm going to completely rip the Canadians today.
The second line center is Jason Spezza because he's a good old Canadian kid who knows how to win. Andreas Janssen on his wing, and on his right wing is David Clarkson. Your third line center is Adam Brooks because Adam is a great name. Kasperi Kapanen on his left and Ilya Mikheyev on the right. The fourth line is Freddie the Goat with Mitch Marner on his right wing and Milan Lucic after he gets traded for William Nylander because Swedes can't win and he's lazy.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is this a team that has a general manager of Brian Burke and a head coach of Mike Babcock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes so much more sense.
Now, do you want my answer?
Yeah, I do. Or else I'm just going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens.
No, so I'm keeping Tavares and Nylander together because I actually really like it, and Tavares is playing. Nylander's playing his best hockey of his career. Matthews and Marner, I think there's going to be more from that. I know Matthews is already on pace for like 54 goals, but there's gonna be more and more highlights between those two, and I think that's really, really, really fun. Oh yeah, you keep Hyman because he's harmless up on that top line with Matt and that. Tavares and Nylander, it's interesting because it doesn't really. I don't think it matters who's there. I don't know if he has played there, but I don't think it would be the worst thing to see what kind of stuff Pierre Engvall would do up there. I don't know that much about Ilya Mikheyev, so I've just kind of put him on the third line with Spezza.
Oh, I didn't even put him in my lineup just because he was injured, but.
Oh, sorry. It's just, Then I have Kapanen on the right wing with Spezza and Mikheyev. My fourth line, I have a very harmless thing. If I have Kerfoot, because I kind of forgot he existed, but you can flip him and Spezza. That's not a real problem, depending on the situation and that. And then on my bottom line, it's a bit weird. I put Freddie the GOAT because I think he's deserved another shot. He played really well this year. And see, I don't really know what to do for the bottom left wing. Like, and at the same time, even if he was healthy, I wouldn't put Janssen in because I think he's getting traded. The defense is exactly the same for me, except I put Dermott, Riley, and I reunite Muzzy because I think that should be tried again without Babcock. And the bottom pairing is instead for me Marinson and CC because we all deserve some fun. And I'm serious about Kaski Suo. So those are my lines.
Wait, so where's Barry? Do you say Muzzin and Barry?
Yeah, Muzzy's back together.
Okay, where's Justin Hall play?
Justin Hall is... No, he should be playing with Marinson, yeah.
Okay.
And then CC should just be thrown into the abyss. Those are my Toronto Maple Leafs line. I'm sorry, Alex. I had to. I had to have some fun there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know about. I think Kerfoot is for sure your third line guy. I think Janssen probably is. One of Janssen or Kapanen is gone by the draft. Or at the draft is my guess for some type of defenseman. Maybe part of a bigger package. I'm not sure. I mean, they could potentially be traded mid-season if they can bring in some type of defenseman, potentially with some type of term.
Yeah,
that would be nice to see. Obviously, it sucks to see either of those players go, but you got to do what you got to do. I don't think Marinson really gets into this lineup. I just simply because Cody Ceci on the third pairing. Yes, Cody Ceci really isn't that good, but he's been kind of invisible on the third pairing, which is exactly what I want with Cody Ceci. But other than that, it seems pretty much fine. I don't know if Engvall is ready for that second. Like, obviously, I'd love to see what he does, but I don't know if he's ready for that line yet. Yeah. But we'll see. Just to let you know, Corey Schneider has been recalled.
I saw that. I guess they're, the tank's in full effect.
Just to let you know. Okay, let's get to the one team I know you've been dying to talk about.
Yeah, so do you want to hear a fun little tweet?
Sure.
This is from Connor McKenna. This was before last night, so he said, the Canadians have won 7 games in 26 games since Jonathan Drouin went out. He's a good player, but if that's what happens when you lose a guy like that, someone built a bad hockey team. Alex, did you watch my new video, by the way?
No, not yet.
You bastard. It's now, there's another win in there last night. So the Habs snapped their second 8-game winless streak of the season last night against the Ottawa Senators in the game that they should have lost. But right after I said Carey Price isn't, we should lower our expectations. He stole them the game. He made more than 40 saves. Ilya Kovalchuk. Have you seen the Kovalchuk goal yet?
No.
Absolutely full descends player. Everyone knew he was going to shoot, but he made a really nice move. Just buried it. His first goal as a Hab. He's 4 points in 4 games for Kovalchuk. And I don't know. Their season is done as the Canadians, but you have to take these moral victories where you can. And Kovalchuk was really, really happy. And I think the big thing with him now is if he can continue to play this efficiently, that he'll be a nice little rental for someone. Not like a first, second, and third, but you could probably get a good pick for him. But I think the real thing you don't want to talk about the game. I can say what I want. That's fun, whatever. But the news is what came out last night at Headlines. Again, the backbone of this show is basically Elliot Friedman. That Mark Bergevin is waiting till the All-Star game to start making decisions. And in brackets on their notes, Alex, I have said a little late, Mark.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Now, you can probably answer this question for me. Are there players who are going to return within the next not sure how many games they play, 3 to 4 games before the All-Star break?
See, you know what's really interesting here? I'm pretty sure Jonathan Drouin should be back by then. Paul Byron should be as well. Like that's what's really frustrating about Paul Byron is it feels like he's been skating for a while, but there's not been that much. But I know Drouin has been at practices too. So those guys, I think they should be back. Yoel Armia is weird because he's week to week, and you never want to hear that because you never know. But those guys should be back, but it's not for sure because Drouin's timeline was pushed back from 8 weeks to 8 to 10, so he might not even be back.
Right.
It's such a mistake. Did you? I don't know if you saw this, but the Sens, when they tied it up, there's a really fluky goal. I think it went off of Pekka's skate or whatever, and they cut to Marc Bergevin.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, first of all, I just want to say, you know you're on camera, and you know you're Marc Bergevin. You need to do a better job of not reacting. But I think it's such a mistake to wait till the All-Star game to see what you're doing. I really do.
Because you texted me last night saying something about him waiting. And I'm like, what is he waiting for, man? I understand, you can't make a split-second decision. But now we're talking about an entire week. Now, how many games do they play before the All-Star break?
I will find that out for you right now. Because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I think it's 3 more games.
What is he going to get in 3 more games?
The only sort of thing I would look at this team in 3 to 4 games, like Kovalchuk's the only player you need to take on a week-by-week basis. I think the team's fate this season has already been determined. You don't have 2 8-game losing streaks separately and make the playoffs. It's not going to happen. So I don't know what he wants to look at.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't understand. Did we talk about last week or on Wednesday about what this team could give up? Because I know that's been a big discussion. They've talked about it a couple times on Hockey Central. Is there a better idea now of what the Canadians not are willing to give up, but what they can give up if they're going to be sellers at the deadline?
Yeah, so I think Friedman and Mayer talked about it on the 31 Thoughts podcast a lot more. Sorry, hold on, Alex. I believe the Habs play 3 more games until... Sorry, no. God damn it. They play 4 more games against the Flames, Blackhawks, Flyers, and Golden Knights. I'm going to the Golden Knights game before they go to the All-Star break. So, Alex, I quickly have a little thing here what my lines would be, and I'm looking at each player. And the one who stands out to me that Freeman and Merrick brought up that I think could definitely be somebody you look at trading, and as much as it sucks, I mean, the guy was a throw-in piece in the big Pacioretty deal, but the guy who's been your leading scorer, he's got 2 years left, so you can get more value for him having the extra year, and that's Tomas Tatar. And another guy is Jeff Petrie, who also has another year left, and I think is one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. I think Petrie is one that you can do because, this year, Cale Fleury's shown a lot of potential to be a top 4 guy one day, sooner rather than later. And, of course, they have a guy like Josh Brook in the system as well that one day could be something. And Noah Julesen's a question mark, but really it's with Josh Brook and Cale Fleury. Tomas Tatar, I don't really know. It's tough because, like, the big issue with this team is the age differences and then lining up with the younger guys and being competitive. So I think it would make sense to trade Petrie, who I believe is already 31, and Tomas Tatar. So I think if the Habs going to sell mode, it's those 2 guys, and depending on how well Ilya Kovalchuk plays, he could be a rental for somebody.
Okay, because I look at this team and we've had this discussion off the podcast for sure. There's not a bunch of pieces that you can think of selling that will bring something a whole lot valuable.
You don't trade Phil Deneau because he's young and he can be in the Selke conversation. You'd be a fool. You would turn the fan base on you if you traded Brendan Gallagher. And then you see, like, Arturi Lehkonen is like a Swiss Army knife player, and he's young. Max Domi is young. Nick Suzuki, I don't need to tell you about. Palin, Kotkaniemi. Like, you're not trading those. Victor Mete, you're going to trade him? No, you're not.
Like, I look at the middle of the roster. I have the Cap Friendly page up here. You have Dale Weiss, Jordan Wheel, Pekka, and Thompson. In your opinion, are they worth trading?
The only one I could think would be Nate Thompson, because he's a valuable penalty kill guy. So you get like a 4, but yeah, like, is it worth it? Not really. Like, you're not gonna really. I mean, you would love to just get something, and you have plenty of guys to replace him. Like, Paling would probably get a permanent center spot. So I could see it making sense. But if Nate Thompson's the biggest name you can get rid of,
so from that, then would it be you'd be able to say that they're in a weird position? The Canadians are in a weird position, and sure, they're sellers. It's just they don't have a whole lot to sell because they have a lot of young players.
Yeah.
Or players in their prime that are part of the core.
I think, well, it's interesting that you bring up the term core, because if I ask you who the Montreal's Canadian core is, who are you going to tell me, Alex?
I would tell you Gallagher, Drouin, Domi, Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, Weber, Carey Price, and Victor Mete.
And Victor Mete. So here's the problem. Yeah, Victor Mete, off the top of my head, is 21 years old. Max Domi, I believe, is, I want to say 24?
24, yes.
24 years old. Jonathan Drouin, I believe, is 24 or 25 as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Nick Suzuki, I believe, is 20 or 21.
Correct.
And then Cale Fleury, 20. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, 19. Brendan Gallagher, I believe, is 26 or 27. So
27.
27, yeah. And then you bring up Weber and Petrie. So the problem, and I mentioned it earlier, the thing of like what's lining up with your core, right, is the next wave of Habs forwards are those young guys. And I think the Tatar and Petries, again, are those guys that, on another team, they're part of your core, but they don't line up with Montreal's youth movement. And it also, so it would make sense to trade those guys. But like, the thing of a young player really makes sense. And it's a big issue with like the fact that the Habs haven't committed to a rebuild or going for it. You know, they're playing both sides, which is a big problem.
So you brought up, so you said Tatar and Petrie aren't in that bracket for your rebuild or your core, but would you not, and I know these are special players, but would you not make the argument for Weber and Price too, who are both on the back end on pretty much the other side of 30, Weber and Price at 32, but they have longer contracts. Is that why they're in a bit of a different situation than the Tatar and Petrie?
I think a lot of people off the top of their head would like Brian Burke made the point of like, who do you replace Shea Weber and Carey Price with? Well, the immediate answer is King Primo was the replacement, and then you would think the next great Canadian, and I'm no way saying Alex Romanov is going to be a Norris Trophy defenseman, but it's those kind of guys. It's your Brooks, it's your Fleuries, and that the Romanovs are your next generation on defense, right? And again, Caden Primo's only 20 years old, so he's not Price's immediate successor, because to them it's Carey Price right now. And immediately you see a problem there, is that these players' career trajectories aren't lined up. And it probably is the smartest move to trade Price and Weber. Now, I think a lot of people were saying like the contracts are an issue. Alex, I don't know about you, but I think general managers are dumb enough to take on the Shea Weber deal, considering how good he looks so far, the Norris Trophy type of year. Price, I think you can't trade him now because his value's not very good, because he hasn't been good. But I think it takes Carey Price 2 months to get back into it, and I think you can do it. But the problem is you have a Habs fan base that is very impatient now, because they've missed for what is probably going to be 3 years straight. And Mark Bergevin, if he does make the decision to finally tear it down, did it 3 years too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, listen, I get, yeah, they're for sure GMs crazy enough to take the Weber, and I probably someone crazy enough to take the Price deal. Not that Price is a bad goalie, it's that Price is 32 and seems like he has a million years left on his contract. I think when it comes to Weber, I think there would be some type of salary retention on that deal.
I think it's more likely on Price than Weber. Because there's that old school there's that one GM that looks at Char and he's like, "Oh, we're good." Or like, yeah, some sort of, not like 50%, but I could see, because Weber makes, I think, like 7.5 or 7.1, so. But it doesn't matter if you're going into rebuild mode, right? Because you're going to have the cap space anyway, which Montreal already have. Yeah, Shea Weber has, oh my God, he makes $7.8 million beyond cap friendly. I believe it's 7 more years. Let me just quickly double check. Shea Weber is under contract until, I'm sorry, we'll find it, because it was 11 years when he first got to Montreal. Till 2026, that's when he is a UFA. He'll make $7.8 million. And there's like no salary after 2022.
Oh boy, we're gonna be out of university.
And then Carey Price has, I believe it's 6 more years after this one.
Oh my God.
Yes.
See, you mentioned something before. You said would do the rebuild, but it's 3 years too late.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know if that's necessarily the issue, because you look, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you look at really good teams who've won cups. You look at Pittsburgh. You look at Chicago. Right? They've with their multiple cups, they have that core. But what they do is that they bring in different pieces to surround that core, whether that be young players or whether that be like bigger additions that they can fit in. The thing with what Mark Bergevin has done is he has the core, right? You got your certain players, and then you have your young guys in Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, Paling, Mete, but he never brought in that big addition that a team needs to take that next step.
Right?
You look at the Phil Kessel acquisition, and that brought them 2 more cups.
Yeah. But the thing with Chicago and Pittsburgh and Washington and all that is, at one point they bottomed out, and they got those first overall picks when, they got your Backstrom, and then, your Ovechkin. They got the Malkin and Crosby in the draft. And with the Habs is they never bottomed out enough to the position where they were able to get those. Same with Toronto, to go get your Marners and your Matthews, right? At any time, like the big one you think of right away was Alex Galchenyuk, who played his best hockey in Montreal, but just wasn't able to cut it because of injuries and that. And the Habs were never, God, I'm thinking they're like the Minnesota Wild, is that they never bottomed out enough to get those stars. And even when you had a prime PK, Price-winning Hart trophies, and Max Pacioretty, the Habs only started drafting and developing well the past 2-3 years.
Right.
Which is when you need, and Bergevin has been there for 8 years, when he should have started doing it at the start. Then if the Habs, when he first takes over, learn how to develop and draft properly, they're contenders. Not even an issue. But it's just everything Bergevin has started to do right. Again, he's just started too late. He wasted Carey Price's best years. We can say that he wasted PK Subban's best years. And luckily, Pacioretty got away before he was completely, dried out for everything he had.
For sure.
Which, by the way, I'm going to quickly bring up Max Pacioretty's numbers this year, because he is 48 games played, 45 games played. 48 games played, 45 points. He's on pace for just about like nearly 40 goals. His career high is 39 in Montreal. And his career high in points is 65. And he's already at 45 now.
Yeah. I don't think we ever thought that Pacioretty wasn't good. Do you know what the thing with Pacioretty is? I think he got traded to Vegas and then signed that extension and didn't really like the extension for some reason. I don't know why.
I think it was the wrong decision how they named him captain because they did the team vote and then they traded PK. So like Pacioretty took all the brunt of it, and he clearly wasn't the type of person for that. He was better in the shadows than he was in the spotlight.
Right.
But then again, you got Nick Suzuki out of it, and he's a good player.
I got some huge news.
Okay.
It's from Greg Wyszynski.
Ah, great.
The NHL Department of Player Safety said there will be no discipline for Matthew Tkachuk after controversial hits on Zach Kassian last night, telling both ESPN both hits delivered on Kassian were legal full body checks delivered to a player carrying the puck. Kassian will have a hearing on Monday for roughing/aggressor in going after Tkachuk.
Did you see Rachel Dorier's thing on it?
Yeah.
That's pretty. And like and the one so the way it comes up, because I don't follow Wyszynski on Twitter, is you see Rachel Dory last night originally. You want me to just read this little scenario here so we can end the show?
Yeah.
So there's the example of the first Tkachuk hit where he clearly, like, you watch it, it's slowed down, and like Tkachuk sees that Kassian slightly bent over. He comes into the speed where he clearly gets him in the head, knocks his helmet off, also nearly takes down Mark Giordano. Rachel Dory quote tweeted says, quote, "If the Department of Player Safety doesn't believe this is A, suspendable, B, a hit we want out the game, frankly, they have zero concept of player safety. This is why we need guys like Correa and Savard in there. Correa, sorry. It's 4 strides to a vulnerable player's head." By the way, remember, Paul Correa is the guy who got his head hit, didn't know where he was, came back, scored an overtime goal. So after Wyszynski does that, Rachel Dory quote tweets that and said, "The only time this department had credibility was when Brandon Shanahan ran it. There isn't a shred of credibility left there. Don't wax poetic about safety and then let guys off on a weekly basis."
It's a joke, man. It's an absolute joke. It really is. And it's like nothing's getting done. And listen, how many times have we praised Gary Bettman for the things he's done for hockey? It just seems lately that nothing's getting done. Great. We're not going to have a lockout. You know what, man? Like, at this point, there's so many things that need to be fixed for number 1, player safety, number 2, referees, number 3, what was the third one? Players, referee, and the Department of Player Safety. It's a joke.
Also, Scotty Upshaw tweeted out saying, for those of you who haven't played hockey, I think what he meant to say, for those of you who haven't played the game, coming down from your wing as a winger to hit a vulnerable guy on a wraparound is as dirty as it gets, such as below. I know because I've done it lots. I deserved a punch in the face too. If this hit was on McDavid, 10-game min. And that's a former player in Scotty Upshaw, by the way.
That's quite interesting because I've seen, like, not a lot of players would do that.
Brandon Prost call you a pigeon.
Call Ian Tulloch a pigeon. That was the best thing I've ever seen. That was funny.
Well,
do you have anything else to say?
No, because all I see is, again, Brandon Press, by the way, I bring this up every time. The only thing he's ever done in his career was when he tossed Steven Stamkos' elbow pads into the stands at a Habs game once because he was a sore loser. But I think that's it for today. I'm looking. I mean, the Detroit Red Wings have called up Calvin Pickard.
Yay.
But yeah, that's
You
everything.
mean former Leaf, Calvin Pickard?
Yeah, Leafs legend. All right, Alex, I think that's everything for today then. Well, loyal listeners, if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, wherever you're listening to it, if you can like, share, subscribe, review, all that kind of stuff, why don't you just do it? Why not do it? Also, be sure to check out the show's YouTube channel for lots of clips on the show and that. Check out the Instagram page, of course, get the discussions going, and also check out my YouTube channel. Of course, check out Alex and I's own social medias as well. That will all be there. Again, hopefully Daniel can come on soon. He's slowly dying from coughing or something like that. He said he'd be back. I'm projecting his recovery time to be by the time the draft comes along, but we'll see. Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. Goodbye.